Sharrona Reaves. You are listening to These Three Things podcast. Thanks for joining me for a new episode of These Three Things. So let's talk about last episode with Cameo Bobo. Thank you to all of you guys who listened to that episode. I hope that you had a chance to listen to Cameo's single, Crown. She also has a video out now. You can watch that on YouTube. You can also check out her video on Apple and anywhere that you listen to your music, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure the video is on YouTube, though, if you want to check out her video. Before I get into today's episode, I want to talk a little bit more about my being liked versus being talented episode, where I talked about Amanda Seales. Since my last recording release, Amanda Seales went on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp. And if any of you listened to my being liked versus being talented episode, what happened with Amanda is exactly what I talked about in that episode. A lot of us had been piling up, well, not a lot of us, a lot of y'all had been piling up on Amanda and saying a lot of negative things about her and just how she wasn't likable and just a lot of negative things. Not ever having met Amanda Seales, not ever having had a personal contact with Amanda Seales, but just because of the way that she expresses herself and the fact that she's very blunt, she's very straightforward. She is unapologetically living her life out loud, trying to educate and disrupt and cause people to shift their thinking for the best for our society overall. At least that's how I see Amanda. And after her Club Shay Shay interview has been watched now by millions everywhere across the country, oh, I misunderstood Amanda. Oh, I really like Amanda. I get Amanda. I understand Amanda. Amanda's super intelligent. Amanda carried this interview. Shay Shay is no match for the intelligence of Amanda. Amanda's a great person. I may not have always understood her, but I definitely respect her. That right there is the part that just drives me crazy. I'm glad that some of y'all are getting the revelation, but I just really wish that before we just start piling on to people because you heard that somebody else is piling on. Like, y'all know how we got that saying in the black community, or not that saying, but this thing that we do in the black community where you see somebody running and we all just take off running. We don't know what we're running for. We don't know why we're running, but we just take off running because we see somebody running and we automatically assume that it's trouble. That's how we think a lot in this society. Because they think it has to be true, right? So I'm just going to pile on with them without using the brain that God gave you to think and consider for yourself. I just wanted to touch on that a little bit because I wanted to give an example of something that we just talked about in the being liked versus being talented episode. Now, if y'all go back and listen to that episode and it's your first time listening to These Three Things podcast, I tell a story in there where I say a sentence that has a curse word in it, and I say it quite a bit. Looking back, I shouldn't have had to say it that many times. I should have just said what the F instead of just saying the whole thing out every single time. So please forgive me there because I'm just growing in certain areas of my life and I'm needing to shut that version of me and profanity down. So I'm just letting y'all know in advance. If you go back and you listen to that episode and you hear that story, just know I'm going to do better moving forward. Okay, so let's shift into today's episode, Forever Fit. And I named it that because for any of you who are listening to this episode right now, who has gotten up every morning saying, on Monday, I am going to start taking better care of myself. On Monday, I'm going to start eating better. This year, I'm going to start working out. If you said any of those things to yourself and you actually have not gotten up and committed and done any of it, this episode is for you. I tell the story in this episode of how I got connected with Marci and where I was in my life when I reached out to her. This episode is intended to save somebody from just letting it go. So let's get into today's episode, Forever Fit with Marci Beck. Enjoy. For almost a century, Scarrett Bennett Center's historic Gothic campus has been a choice location for dream weddings in Nashville. Consistently rated one of Music City's best places to get married by The Knot, Wedding Wire, and Toast of Nashville, Scarrett Bennett Center offers 3 timeless venues for your wedding: a 20-person elopement chapel, a 300-person wedding chapel, and a breathtaking garden. From rehearsal to reception, Scarrett Bennett Center is ready to help you create the intimate, historic wedding of your dreams. Visit our website at scarrettbennett.org/weddings for more information. Hey everybody, this is your girl Sharrona Reaves, and you are listening to These 3 Things podcast. I'm excited today, y'all, because I'm about to share somebody with y'all that I just absolutely love. I'm going to tell you guys how we all met, but in this episode today, I want to talk about aging and exercise and the importance of aging and exercise. And I thought there was no better person to have this conversation with than my own personal trainer. Her name is Marci. So Marci, welcome to These 3 Things podcast. There's so many people that came out today, Marci.
I mean, evidently. Hello, everyone.
There's so many people. So Marci, welcome to These 3 Things podcast.
Happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
I'm so excited to have you here. As you know, all of my listeners, I always tell a story of how I am podcasting with someone. Am I podcasting because we've known each other, or is this a new person in my life? And so I'm going to tell y'all a quick story. As many of you know who have listened to the show, and on Christmas Eve of 2021, my baby sister passed away. We were on the tail end of COVID. I actually thought that our family had made it through. Like, nobody had gotten sick, and, you know, there weren't any deaths in our family due to COVID. So I really thought that we were, you know, God had really just spared our family from that, you know, sickness. And so lo and behold, my sister, who was 47 years old, goes into the hospital the week before Thanksgiving, and she doesn't come out. And it really sent not only me, after losing a sibling, which I would not wish on anyone to lose a sibling. I can only imagine my parents as losing a child, but it's just different when you've actually grown up with someone your entire life and now they're just gone. So I kind of went into a depression, and I could not pull myself out of it. I had worked out most of my life. Many of you know I was a college women's basketball coach for 20 plus years. I retired in 2019. I was enjoying Savannah, Georgia, and then my sister passed away, and I went into a depression and a spiral that I really could not stop. Like, I've always been a mentally tough person. I've always been a person that could pull myself out of things and go through bad situations, even the ones that I've created on my own in my life, and make it through those as well. But for some reason, losing my sister just spiraled me. I stopped working out. I really just started eating. I didn't care for the first time in my life if I gained weight. I didn't really, honestly, some days really care about life. I had days where I was literally like, well, if I die today, like, my kids will be okay. They'll be well taken care of. You know, I've left them good money, you know, just because I just grieved. I was grieving, and having not lost someone like that so close to me, I didn't realize that this was grief. I was just functioning depressed every single day. And I felt compelled to move back to Tennessee because my sister was the only one who lived here close to my parents. And so I moved back to Tennessee to be closer to my mom and dad, and took a job working for an accounting company. And I started slowly but surely coming back to life and starting to feel like I wanted to fight for my life again. I knew there was so much inside of me that I had not even tapped into yet, and I knew it, but I just could not even access it or think about it because of my grief. And so one day I had just, like, for a week, I was like, you know what, you're getting a trainer this week. You're going to get somebody to help you get out of this. And I just made a Hail Mary email to a facility literally walking distance from where I live. And I was just like, I need a trainer.
Basically.
I need help. Like, help me help myself. And so I think you reached out to me, what, the next day, Marci, was it?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, you reached out to me the next day, and we talked, had a good conversation on the phone, and so we made plans for her just to come and evaluate me. And I went to the facility, and we kind of just did some work together. day one, when I walked in the facility and she started talking to me, I was like, I like her. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was about you because we had not even had a real workout together yet.
No.
But I just loved your spirit, Marci. And
Thank you.
now that we've been working together, I see why. I knew you were going to be my people from the gate. But I love the fact that you push me hard. Like, you do work me. I leave your workouts, and I told you I have to go sit in my car for like 30 minutes before I can drive off. Like,
You actually say you don't like me.
yeah. Before I leave, I'm like, Marci, I really don't like you. And in 2 days, I definitely am not going to like you because I know that's when I'm going to be really hurting. But you make it fun.
Awesome.
And you're pushing me, but you're not like Army drill sergeant.
Never.
I don't really need that in this season of my life. Like,
Yeah.
I'm past that. I'm here to get better. So I love the way that you push me, but at the same time, we can laugh and like, talk about real life stuff. And so that's how Marci and I got connected. So Marci, thank you for answering my email.
It's my pleasure. Yeah.
And, we've been having a lot of fun, and I'm starting to see results in my body and starting to get my strength back. And I look forward to our workouts every week.
Good.
And so I want to ask you, and this is probably the first question that everybody always asks in a podcast, but how did you become a trainer? And why was trainer the life for you? And tell my listeners about yourself, like your career, what you've done, and why you enjoy being a trainer.
Great question. I think it's multifaceted for sure. I was a lifelong athlete. I played basketball at a Division II college in Arizona. From there, ended up transferring over to Arizona State, played rugby there for a year. So I grew up as a lifelong athlete. Got out of my undergrad program, went and took a corporate job, interestingly enough, in the tattoo industry, doing operations.
You got good tats, though.
Well, thank you.
got good tats.
That's a byproduct of the job. But I realized there was definitely something missing, a big piece of me. You're an athlete, right? So every athlete's got that athletic mean streak. They need that competition. They need to see some physiological things happening. So I decided, after several years, let's go ahead and actually bite the bullet. So I decided to get certified as a personal trainer. From there, it was, just kind of I moved a lot. Mm-hmm. So basically, everywhere I went, it was finding a new gym, building a new clientele. I finally was able to stabilize myself in Detroit, Michigan. Mm-hmm. Really did not like the environment I was working in. Then COVID hit. So it was just like one thing after another. And, it was halfway through COVID, and I kept on riding my bike outside, and I was riding it around my home. Mm-hmm. And I kept seeing this property for lease, this commercial space. And I was like, oh, man, that looks real pretty. I had the garage door. It was industrial. I could see, like, me being in there.
Workout material.
Yeah, I was like, this is good. There's nothing sexy about it. It's, you walk in, you look, and you're like, oh, I got to work in here.
Yeah.
So I bit the bullet. I signed a lease there, opened up my own performance facility, and it was just kind of off and running from there. My parents were getting older, and they decided they were leaving Arizona. They've been living in Arizona for the past 20-some-odd years. And they moved to Tennessee. I was unhappy in my work because I went from being, okay, I'm coach. I get to go and just clock in, take care of my people, and be out.
Yep.
Next thing you know, I've got all this administrative stuff going on. I'm like, man, this is corporate.
Yeah. I got away from this, I thought.
Yeah. So, and I started to lose my inspiration, and I was thinking to myself, man, my parents are getting older. They've retired. I'm unhappy. I'm uninspired. So I was like, let me move to Tennessee and be closer to my mom and dad, as they're aging. And here I am. Some opportunities came up after that to work in collegiate athletics, which had always been a dream of mine. Yeah. So I hopped on that, caught that bug, and then decided I wanted to come back to the private sector for the stability. There's a lot less market volatility in the private sector.
Right.
And then here I am meeting you and training you in a facility. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. I do. I look forward to it. And I know you're going to push me. And some days I'm like, oh, my God. But
is it lower body? Is it upper body? What are we doing?
It's body.
It's body. That's a good way to put it,
it's just body right now. Like, it's just the whole thing. But I leave, and I'm, like, so proud of myself. And I am becoming a new animal, which I cannot even explain, and I can't even really share with my listeners just yet because I'm not fully realized, but inwardly, oh my gosh, like this commitment to just like myself again and just my physicality has sparked something in me that I can't even explain. Like I am just, I'm becoming somebody else, and I like her.
I like that.
I like her. So let's get to the purpose of our show right here. And let's talk about aging and exercise.
Okay.
It's amazing how I noticed in myself, just when I took like those 2 or 3 years off and didn't really do anything consistently with my workout, how my body like started to try to deteriorate on me. Mm-hmm. So talk about it from a training perspective, and to my listeners, Marci, about what happens to us when we age and we have just stopped moving. We've stopped exercising. We've stopped taking care of ourselves. Talk about that a little bit. Absolutely.
There are so many cliches, you can throw out there, but I think the most definitive one would be if you don't move it, you lose it, right? So, or move it or lose it, as it were. And as we age, our metabolism changes, our hormones shift. Men stop producing testosterone. Women start losing bone mineral density. Women in particular we're pretty much born pre-osteoporotic just because of our genetic makeup as women. Our muscles atrophy. The work takes, twice as much work to achieve the same result. There's the psychological, diminishing factors as well. As we get older, we start to notice our bodies changing. Then we kind of sit in that frustration and this scared nature of, oh my God, I really got to start putting some work in. Mm-hmm. Once that fear sets in, your performance outcomes are going to go down because now you're having to deal with that psychological stress. So your body responds to stress, and it could be psychological, emotional, mental, physiological. Mm-hmm. The only one that's actually going to promote positive bodily adaptation is that physiological stress, movement. Mm-hmm. So either way, you're going to have stress in your life, and you can pick your poison on it. But a lot of people, when we get into that 50-plus year age range, we start to lose, the passion for moving our bodies. We want to work with our minds instead of our physique. So that's a major thing that I see as a social shift, I think, at a certain age. Yeah. And I know the part about what you said it does to us mentally when we stop moving. I felt it. Mm-hmm. I felt it along with my grief and then just my inability to want to get up and do anything physical with myself. Mm-hmm. It seemed like depression was getting deeper. Like I was spiraling more into like a space where I knew that I had reached a level, if I don't pull myself out of this, like I may not get back to me ever again, or whoever it is that I'm going to be once I recover from this. And so I totally get that. And it's easy. It's so easy to just let it go. Oh, it's a battle. I mean, it's a game. And, I think a lot of people realize, I'm starting to lose this game. And it's, that sympathetic nervous system needs to kick in. You got to either choose your fight or flight. And most people are going to choose the flight. Yep. Unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, so I've got to ask questions that I know my listeners are going to want, because I have a lot of listeners, and I know that many of them do work out. Awesome. But I know that a few of them, who follow me on social medias and things like that have fallen off as well. So I'm going to ask questions that and then also too for the listeners who aren't but know they need to, and this conversation is going to be the boost. Because This is what I love about my podcast. This is what I try to do, is for those of us who have fallen by the wayside, I'm here to encourage you to get back on it. Like, let's get back on the horse. So let's talk about weights versus aerobic exercise. Because if I'm after 50, and my joints aren't, I don't have 30-year-old, 20-year-old joints anymore, especially if you've been an athlete like you and I both have been, mm-hmm. or a person, you've played a sport, or you've been active most of your life doing something. Your joints are a little, they're 50, they're starting to feel it. Yeah, you're feeling them. I got 90-year-old knees right now, and it's all right. Girl, I got 120-year-old feet. My feet are from, biblical days. Right. What's the, weights versus aerobic exercise? We hear so much, and when you're on Instagram, and every time you scroll, somebody's telling you a different thing to do. Weights versus aerobic exercise, after 50. Talk about that. Awesome question, and don't let me go down the rabbit hole of social media. Oh, gosh. social media is, people used to say, the internet, we're going to have access to all this information. It's going to make us so smart. Right. It has made us stupid. Everybody wants to be that, influencer, celebrity. So, what they've got to say is the most poignant and intelligent. It's not. And the fact that we're even having a conversation of, okay, so do I do my aerobic exercise or do I strength train with resistance training methods? You need both, especially as we age. But the strength aspect, the resistance training, that, especially for women, is going to be the most important. Yes, get out there, get your walking, ride a bike, get your stair climber in, whatever it is that you can, muster up, the courage to do for 20 minutes or so, do that. But your joints are older. The answer isn't to not stress the joints. The answer is to actually put stress on them. Mm-hmm. Actively move them under tension, under load, with weight, through a full range of motion is what is needed.
So what if I have injuries? Because I can hear some people say, well, yeah, but I had an ACL, or I had a real bad knee injury. I sprained my knee many years ago. I had a rotator cuff surgery. I can't, do the bar. Right. I've had an ankle injury. I can't really run like I used to anymore. Like, talk about the injuries, because by 50, if you've been moving pretty consistently in your life, you've probably had some injury somewhere.
Absolutely.
That's affected you. So a lot of us feel like that because of those injuries, we can't get out here and move and keep our bodies challenged as we age. Talk about how to overcome the injuries.
Of course, yeah. So injuries are a tough one. I think mostly because, like we touched on earlier, the psychological aspect. Oh, I've been injured, so now I'm afraid to push myself. I'm afraid to kind of, squat because I've had an ACL issue. The answer is to chase the stress that is going to make everything above, below, and around that joint stronger. So injuries may, it's not about, we don't want to chase the pain. We don't want to actively do things that are going to cause a significant amount of pain, but there will be some pain in getting through that rehabilitation process. Yeah. Fortunately, having worked in a clinical setting and having a rehabilitative background has allowed me to understand what is good pain, what is bad pain, what is acceptable, and how to get people to push through that. You have to challenge the joints. Anywhere you've had an injury, whether it's orthopedic in nature, soft tissue related, ligament, whatever you name it, you need to get it stronger. So you actively need to seek strength training for that. And then you need to build that baseline foundation of your aerobic endurance as well. It'll help build a strong heart. The stronger your heart is, the more you can challenge your body with other endeavors like strength training.
Yeah. And isn't it true that if you haven't been moving and you start moving, it's going to hurt anyway, and you have injuries.
Absolutely.
They're going to hurt anyway just because your whole body is getting used and adjusted to the physicality of working out and exercise again.
Absolutely.
And if you have an injury, as you start to move, you'll feel the pain, but as you grow strength, the pain will lessen.
Absolutely will.
In those areas, just because you're making them stronger and everything surrounding those areas of injury stronger.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, misunderstand, how the healing process kind of works. But if you want to get rid of pain, it's usually due to a weakness, a muscular weakness somewhere in the chain. If you have a foot injury, it could have been, because of something happening with your shoulder. If you carry a backpack, like students, carry backpacks, women carry purses, even men, are rocking the satchel these days.
Right.
That's going to have an effect in the rest of the kinetic chain. So if you've got an ankle injury, make everything that's going to help that ankle stronger. Your calves, your tendon, all of the soft tissue in and around that area. Make it stronger. But also maybe get assessed for all of your other movement patterns. We're walking around. We've got a lot of people walking around broken out there.
Yeah.
Faulty mechanics, year after year after year of the same dysfunctional movement patterns. But you can't avoid challenging your body because of an injury. the first indicator of an injury is usually a previous injury. So let's say you've got a bum ankle. Okay, great. If you do not take care of that, you're going to end up with an injury somewhere else in your kinetic chain.
Yeah. And I was going to say, you made me think about this as you were talking, but for those of you who feel like that you're so far down the rabbit hole of, I ain't done nothing in years. If I just went out here and tried to do anything, I'd probably have a heart attack. For those of you who are listening to this, and this is like the nudge that you needed to get out and get your body moving, before you do anything, go and schedule an appointment with your primary care doctor. Get a complete physical. Tell your doctor what you're about to do, and let your doctor confirm to you that, yes, you can get out here and get your body moving. You're not going to die of a heart attack. You know, you will be sore. Your body will feel the pain of you challenging it. But what I have learned since taking that time off and then getting back to working out again, my body wanted to be challenged.
It's designed for it.
Yes. Like my body was like, yes, after every workout. I feel like, you know, again, I am becoming a different version of myself. And I'm learning that my body is happiest when I am putting it through something.
Absolutely is.
That is testing it, that's challenging it, that's making it stronger and better. So go see your doctors, everybody. For those of you who are listening, and this is your moment. This is your confirmation that, yes, you need to get up and get moving. Go see your doctor. Make sure that so you can feel good in your mind about the fact that, hey, I'm okay. I can go out and do this. I will get past the pain. I will get past just the newness of my body moving and keep going and commit to it. So let's talk about daily things. Let's talk about what a person can do daily. So they're listening to us right now. They're like, okay, I hear y'all. But where can I start? Like just daily things that I can do to start getting myself in shape.
Great question. I mean, it's limitless, really. Get up in the morning. The first thing you should do, have a nice cold glass of water. It doesn't have to be a whole water jug. Just have a cold glass of water. That's going to shock that metabolism, get things moving, get things grooving. It's going to get you ready for the day. A lot of us, we work, we're in a first world industrialized nation. We sit at a desk all day. Sit on an exercise ball. Get one of the, I can't remember what they're called now, but the desks that you can stand and sit. Get one of those desks. Ask your employer. Odds are a lot of times they have a budget set aside for occupational therapy needs. So odds are if you ask your employer, I mean, if they're not really struggling, they'll be able to get that desk for you. Bring bands to work. Get up and walk around every 30 minutes. One of the things that I find that is the most common because a lot of people work at those desk jobs is that they've got lower lumbar pain. And their hamstrings are chronically tight, or what they think is chronically tight. It's not. You got lower back pain because you're sitting in that chair. It's tilting your pelvis backwards. We call it a posterior pelvic tilt. What that's doing is it's taking your spine out of alignment. It's making those vertebrae do things they were not designed to do. Then you've also got the aspect of the tight hamstrings, or what I think is, a tight hamstring. You're sitting in a chair all day, and what that's doing is stretching out your hamstrings. So they feel tight and are sore because they're in a chronically stretched state. Get up, set an alarm, for every hour or two to walk around. Just get the blood flowing. Let your muscles be in their natural length state throughout the course of your workday. Make it a point to, if you've got pets, take 30 minutes if you can after work or before work. Walk your dog, walk your cat, walk your bird. I don't care, Talk to your fish. Just do something that is different than just that constant psychological attention to your job.
Yeah. And just coming home and watching television.
That's it.
Yeah.
Big time. Our escape from stress is to sit there and do nothing. It's great. I need background noise. My television is typically on, even when I'm sitting in the books reading. But I try to make it a point to be active. I set an alarm. I've got my Apple Watch. It says it's time to get up and stand. Time to have some water. Time to take a breath. Actually do that. Don't just mute those notifications.
Yeah. And how many days a week would it be sufficient to, let's just say, I've set an appointment with my primary care doctor to have a complete physical, but I want to start laying some foundation and groundwork up until my appointment so that once my doctor gives me the go, I can get started. how many days a week should that person be getting up, moving, walking, every day at work? I mean, it's not hard to get up every 30 minutes to an hour and walk around at work. But just like when I'm not at work, how many days a week should I be trying to do something to prepare myself for another, to getting back to working out?
Good question. It doesn't have to be intense, workout, but I always like the concept of working, put your body to the test 5 or 6 days a week. And that can be, moderate paced walking. It can be, just lifting some light weights at home if you've got them, or, if you live in an apartment and they've got a gym, just get out there, hop on the treadmill, ride the bike for 20 to 30 minutes, a few days a week. And then strength train 2 to 3 days a week. Just light weights, do some push-ups. I mean, push-ups are never going to go anywhere. They've stood the test of time because they work.
Yep.
Planks are the same thing, So I say 5 to 6 days a week of activity. Yeah. Again, light, moderate, it doesn't have to be intense. Mm-hmm. And then give yourself a day to rest, recuperate, let your tissues regenerate themselves. Yeah. And it's really just as simple as that.
And how long should those be? 20, 30?
Good question. Yeah. The 20 to 30 minutes as far as your aerobic work would suffice if it's at a moderate pace. If you don't have 20 to 30 minutes and you've only got 10 to 15, find a hill. Yeah. Walk up that hill and walk down that hill for 10 minutes. And in terms of your strength training or your push-ups, 3 to 5 sets of, 8 to 10 reps will suffice. It doesn't have to be a long, intensive workout or extensive in terms of your volume. Yeah. Nice and easy. 30 minutes can suffice. If you can get out there and do, 60 minutes of work, though, even better.
Yeah. And what about treadmills? Because a lot of people have treadmills in their homes that got clothes hanging on them because the treadmill has become the...
It's a really good air dryer, I tell you what.
I'm drying T-shirts right now. So, talk about treadmills and what people can do. If you have one in your home, jump on it and do what?
It's so simple. If you have, if you're getting really up into that late life age range, keeping a flat treadmill is all you need to do. 20 minutes at a really easy pace, just again to keep those joints moving. Mm-hmm. For those that are, in the later stages of life that have been active, go ahead and throw an incline on there. Maybe increase the speed on it. For those that are, at that 50 to 70 age range, go up and down on hills with it. Change the incline. Change the speed at which you're moving on the incline and on the flat surfaces. Mix it up. The body needs to have something to adapt to. And unless you're making those acute changes, they don't have to be major changes. Yeah. Throwing a little incline on there, the body will have something new, a new stimulus that's going to cause a new adaptation, which means your body is moving positively in the right direction instead of hitting that plateau and not seeing results or feeling results.
Yeah. I was thinking about the conversation we were having the other day when I was working out, when you'd asked me had I'd seen Elton John's story.
I was like, which conversation? We've had some.
I know, right? I know. Yeah, the Elton John one. And I was just thinking about how, you were talking about how many drugs that Elton John was on at one time. And we were just talking about how, in spite of all of his drug abuse, this man is still with us today. Yep. And how the body wants to live. Mm-hmm. The body wants to live. The body wants to survive.
Absolutely.
Be worked.
It does. I mean, it was designed to respond to heat. So, as far as the Elton John, kind of concept goes, he treated his body. It was like Chernobyl inside there, I think is what I said at one point. But he stood the test of time like a really long plank that you never want to do. Right. Because the body, like I said, it is designed for challenge. It needs a constant stimulus. Like your body is one great big petri dish. There's a ton of chemical reactions and scientific reactions happening inside of your body. Yeah. And unless you start to challenge it in different ways, those reactions are going to stop. They will cease. And then your body is going to evolve, but in the wrong direction. Right. We don't want diminished capacity. And even more importantly, as we get older, our mental faculties start to fail us. So unless we're challenging our bodies with movement, we are going to lose the ability to start to adapt to our surroundings from what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Yeah. So we have to constantly challenge ourselves. in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be the same thing every day. Mix it up. Give yourself a different reason to adapt.
Yeah. So I have realized that I've had to change my diet as I've gotten older. And I want to just hear from you on the importance of our diet and also the importance of us paying attention to what our body is telling us about our diet. Because I figured about 2 years before I actually cut ground beef out that I couldn't digest it. Like, I love a good burger. To this day, I'll see a good burger and be like, I'm thinking about changing my mind and eating beef again.
Double patty. Let's go.
Yeah. But it took me weeks, I felt like, to get that meat out of me. So talk about that and talk about listening to our bodies and what it's telling us regarding our diets.
So in terms of diet, we have to consider that we're all unique. Our bodies are not going to respond the same way to the same kind of energy sources. Food is an energy source. When it comes to diet, and I think the first thing that we need to do is shift our perspective on what food is. It is our fuel. A lot of us, especially in times of depression, some of us don't eat, some of us eat way too much. So if we can kind of shift our perspective on what food is supposed to be for us, that is the first step in making healthier choices. Next up, pescatarian, vegan, there's so many different variations of what we'll call diets. Get excited about sampling, experience different types of diets, see what's going to work best for you as you age. And, to your point though, if you're doing that, if you're experimenting, you do need to be listening to your body. Let your body advocate for itself.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they eat beef, they get that bloated stomach. They can't digest it. Some people feel that way when they eat a lot of starches. Some people feel that when they eat chicken, or, as we change, some of us develop lactose intolerance. Celiac disease, also another issue that's out there plaguing, especially the U.S. population, I think.
Yeah.
When it comes to your diet, listen to your body first and foremost. Play around with different options if you realize that your body isn't where it needs to be and you're eating beef like you did. Maybe switch to a pescatarian diet. Maybe only eat poultry, chicken, turkey, things of that nature. Maybe stay away from the cheese. Dairy actually promotes mucus buildup.
Yeah. So,
we tend, especially in Tennessee, when we got allergies and we got extra mucus because we're eating a whole lot of cheese, which I'm not going to lie, that's my cup of tea.
You like cheese?
Love cheese.
Really? What's your favorite cheese?
The stinkier, the better.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Are you a Gouda person?
I can get down with some Gouda.
I love some good smoked Gouda.
Yeah. But, just, getting back to it, sample with things. If your body's not responding well to what you're currently doing, because we're creatures of habit, modify your habit a little bit. Take notes. Have a food journal. The one other major piece of advice I can give, though, is don't get obsessed.
Yeah. Don't
get on the scale every single day of the week. Because then we're going to start to pay attention to the wrong things. Make sure you're getting carbs, proteins, and fats. And the amounts of which are going to be different for everybody depending on your own, physiological characteristics, your family's genetics, but then also your activity level.
Yeah.
So if you really have a lot of questions, talk to a licensed registered dietitians are amazing. They don't even have to be a registered dietitian. A licensed nutritionist.
Yeah. Talk
to somebody. Find out what macros, your fats, proteins, and carbs you should be taking in based on your family history and your activity levels.
Yeah. And can we talk about fiber?
Yeah.
Because we should be pooping every day.
We should be. Like clockwork.
Yeah. Should we be pooping after every meal or should we be pooping every day?
My dog does after every single meal. However, sorry listeners out there, but I know you feel me. It's the same thing for you guys.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be pooping after every meal. And then your diet is also going to vary, what kind of protein sources you're getting in are going to dictate what that schedule is going to be. Yeah. How much fruit you're taking in, how much greens you're taking in. But you should be having one bowel movement at least every single day.
Yeah. One good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it should be firm. It shouldn't be, not to be gross, but this is our bodies. We all have these movements, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be loose.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, jet black. It shouldn't be red.
And you shouldn't have to strain to get it out either.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And I think for us as women, some of us have to recognize that some of us have to do a little bit more work to get that to accomplished every day. And I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people that can go 2 or 3 days and not have a bowel movement unless I am actively consuming things on a daily basis to ensure that I have a bowel movement. And what I've learned from that, women, is that when we are the type of women that can go 2 or 3 days without bowel movements, we usually suffer from high blood pressure. We suffer from high cholesterol. It's a lot of things, the inflammation. It's a lot of things that we're carrying because we got poop just sticking in our bodies that we're not doing anything to move. And especially if you are getting off work from a desk job, coming home and sitting down watching TV all day long, and you're not doing anything eating-wise or moving-wise to make your bowels move, you're asking to be sick and filled with disease.
And disease is such a good word to use because, I mean, the less regular you are, colon cancer, creeps up. And odds are, like pancreatic cancer, colon cancer is usually diagnosed in the late stages. You're stage 4 and it is just too late. If you are not active, your body has literally no reason to metabolize the food you have consumed. And if you're not metabolizing the food you've consumed, you have no reason to get rid of any waste. Activity is going to be a huge help in making sure that you are regular and your body is getting rid of the things it should be getting rid of and holding on to the things that it actually needs for survival.
Just full disclosure, Marci and I are drinking Prosecco.
A little bit. I've actually been abstaining because I've been talking so dang much, but I'm about to take a nice little sip.
Go for it. Listen, mine's almost gone because while she's talking, I'm drinking. But we're drinking Prosecco in Nashville, Tennessee on a Saturday morning.
Beautiful day.
Just enjoying. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. We are thankful to be alive. And Marci, I got to ask you, I've lived long enough to know that every job that we have comes with stuff. And people don't always consider the stuff that other people deal with within their profession. And to be honest with you, I don't know if you asked me or if someone tested me on what would be things that trainers would have to deal with that would just be like difficult things on their job that nobody would think. I don't know that I would know any answers to that. So in respect for all of the trainers out there who do what you guys do daily, trying to help us be at our best, talk to me about like the hard shit that you guys deal with in your profession that can help us as your clients be better clients for you guys.
I appreciate you asking this question. Like you said, every job's got its shit.
Facts.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what field I've worked in. I'm like, maybe this is the one where things are going to flow a little bit differently. No, I'm just passionate about this one. So I'm going to stick it out. What we do as trainers and coaches is so intimate with our clients. Whether I'm working with somebody that is coming, it's post-operative intervention. They're injured. They're just getting out of rehab. They need some more performance enhancement. They need to get back just to kind of a really good baseline. That's an intimate process right there. Somebody that's coming back, like your story, coming out of this funk and the loss of your sister and COVID and all of those psychological issues, our interactions mean something extra, right? Yeah. Even if you're just some dude in there who's like, I just want bigger pecs, I want to do curls for the girls because it's beach season coming up. It's intimate. People are doing something because they have an intrinsic motivator or an extrinsic one. Yeah. So given that level of intimacy, I think a lot of times, and I've experienced this, not too much, but when I do, it can be overwhelming. People feel like they have all of the access to you in the world, all hours of the day, because we start to talk about our interpersonal relationships or our intrapersonal relationship, the one we've got with ourselves. Yeah. That level of connection and vulnerability and information sharing makes them feel, okay, it's 11:45 at night. I'm on one. I'm feeling a type of way, and so I'm going to text my trainer and be like, "Do you remember that dude I told you about? Well, you are never going to guess, or it's just that access. I'm open and honest and very accessible to my clients. But there are some days when I'm just like, I need to check out. Because what I do for a living and what all other trainers, those of us that are passionate about it, because there are some fakes out there who do not care.
Yeah.
But we need to have something to give ourselves. So sometimes when we're off the clock and we are at home or wherever we're doing to just kind of reset, that's my me time. And myself, I have a hard time saying no to people. I have a hard time taking that time to balance. Yeah. But people think they have constant access to you, and that can lead to bad outcomes. I've been dropped as a coach because I wasn't accessible enough to one of my clients who wanted to get at me every single day of the week. And I think another thing is, I like to give my clients homework and recommendations for things they can do when they're not with me. That way they can see more progress, and we can use our time more efficiently and effectively when they are with me. But a lot of people ask, can you write me a diet plan? Can you write me, a 5-month program of a 4-day-a-week workout? And it's like, I could, but that takes time, and I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not just a 2-minute thing. Oh yeah, let me just hop on my computer and let me put this program together for you.
Right.
Again, the real trainers out there, they're taking the time when they're not with you, spending hours programming what you're doing together when they're not with you.
Yeah.
So I think people don't realize that is an extra service, and you're lucky if someone's going to just give that to you free of charge.
Yeah.
I think those are the two main ones. I think just respecting time. That's a big thing too.
Boundaries.
That's it. Boundaries, huge. Communication is huge too. I know a lot of people need that extra motivation, and they want to be checked in on, and that, is an indicator of, okay, there's some behavioral changes that need to happen. They really need their practitioner, their professional to help them. That's fine, but at some point you got to stop expecting your trainer to have to be the one to build you up. You got to do the inner work so you can show up for yourself.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's real. And I appreciate you being real about that, because we do need to hear that, how to be better clients, because you're right. Just thinking about the conversations that you and I have when we're working out. Now, I'm not the type that's going to text you, you know what I'm saying?
You're
outside
awesome.
of the work day. Because I'm going to look forward to seeing you when we get together. Like, Marci, we're going to have our conversations.
Absolutely.
But I can totally imagine how intimate that is when you're just dealing with someone and you guys are talking and having conversation. When people start to take that further and feel like, Marci's my girl, man. I'm going to text her at midnight because I'm drunk and, having a good time. Like, nah. I'm sleep,
Maybe I'm drunk trying to have a good time and I want to leave work, Right.
I want to be away from work, and people just seeing it as like a profession that is not like, this is just some fun thing that I do. Like, I'm here. This is business for me.
Yes.
I'm looking for results to help you be great. I take this stuff seriously. Like,
you know what? And since you got talking, I was like, oh, here's another epiphany real quick.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on the social media aspect earlier. A lot of people like to come in and say, well, I saw this person do this on social media, so that means I need to do this so I can look like that. Well, it doesn't matter how good you look. You can still be walking around broken, first of all. Second of all, if you're in your 50s or 60s and you're following 20-some-odd-year-olds on social media that are fitness influencers, it's very common. We all want to find that inspiration, right? We need that source of inspiration when you're not with your trainer. Their bodies should look like that at that age.
Yeah.
So I think just making sure that we're walking into this relationship with realistic expectations is also a big one.
I had that moment where I was looking at younger people on like Instagram and TikTok, like working out and stuff. I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, girl.
Enough said.
Yeah. I didn't even have to respond to it. I just said, girl. And my whole mind knew, like, check yourself.
Yeah.
Because, you can get back to, being fine as F.
Yeah.
But that 20-something body that you once had, that was in your 20s, girl.
Absolutely.
And it gave all that it was supposed to give back then. But let's just work on this 50-something body and make it as good as it can look at 50. So thank you for sharing that. Because I always, like to tap into what people don't think about professions. Like, we hire people to help us do things, and we just, in our minds, think it's a certain way, not taking into consideration the other things that you guys deal with. And so, with that being said, because I do know that I'm fortunate to have a trainer and be able to afford a trainer, but many people who are listening to this episode, it just ain't in the budget. Maybe at some point, once I get X, Y, and Z bill paid off, it's going to be in the budget for me to, go and get somebody. So do you offer anything, services at all, where people can reach out to you, Zoom with you, build workouts with you, start plans with you? And if you do, tell my listeners what you do and how they can get in touch with you.
Awesome. Yes, absolutely I do. And it is a case-by-case basis. I do like to be very involved with my people. So if I know somebody is coming out of an injury, or they're getting back to fitness for the first time in a long time, like we talked about earlier and you mentioned, get your general care practitioners okay to get things going. Because I'm going to want to make sure that, I've got the go-ahead to start pushing you through some things. What I do offer, and I say case-by-case basis, meaning basically it's going to be different for everybody. So what I love to do is have either a phone call conversation or an email conversation, even text message, to chat about what goals are. That way I can better advise on what kind of more cost-effective program would work for you. And if I feel like in-person will be better, I'm going to be very candid about it. But I offer, whether it's a monthly, 3 to 4 day a week program that you'll have access to, and you can reuse those things too. A lot of people think, well, I have to get a new program every single month. You don't have to. You just need to make some minor changes in it. But I do virtual training. Again, I can just do consultation, whether it's phone, email, text, all of the above. Whatever I've got time for, and I think it's going to be the best use of their time, I'll offer that to them. Yeah.
Awesome.
So in the way you can get a hold of me, you can just send me an email at strengthcoachbeck@gmail.com. And that's strengthcoachbeck@gmail.com. Reach out to me. I would love to start a conversation, see if we can get you to a better place.
Yes, because let me tell y'all, she is working your girl.
You're working me though too, and I like it. It's good. Yeah.
Listen.
No, in the best way possible. In the very best way. She pushes you guys. I want you to know that. She is a boss lady. She shows up. She does the work. And everybody in the facility just absolutely loves it when you're there. We all talk about it when you leave. We talk about it.
Thank you. And my buddy Reese.
Reese, if you're out there.
Shout out to my buddy Reese. Reese is the guy who typically comes in at the end of my workout.
Yep.
And I always know that when he shows up, I'm almost done.
He didn't come in the other day because he came in earlier. And she's like, so where's Reese? I'm like, oh, he came in earlier.
I'm like, where's Reese? Because listen, Marci and I have this joke, and we're going to close after this, but Marci and I have this joke where I've noticed that when she's giving me an exercise to do and I'm doing it and she's looking around, it's like she's cooking up this next thing that she really wants to challenge me with. And I was like, you know what? I got to come in here with a game plan. I can't allow Marci to think too long over there by herself. So we make jokes about it because it's like, hey, I can't, she's like, what can I add to this for her?
But if you didn't come in and take care of business, like the boss that you are, I would have no need to up the ante on you,
Yeah, well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I enjoy the way you train me. I really do. And I
appreciate
love that
that.
We have fun. So thank you guys. This is Sharrona Reaves, and I'm with Marci Beck, and you are listening to These Three Things podcast. We'll be right back with These Three Things. Thanks for listening to this episode of These Three Things podcast. Here's how you can stay connected after the show. Follow at These Three Things podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. On Facebook at These Three Things P. Be sure to follow, subscribe, and if you like what you've been hearing, leave a review. Hey, this is Sharrona Reaves. You have been listening to These Three Things podcast with my guest and personal trainer, Marci Beck. If you've made it this far in the episode, I just want to share a quick word of encouragement with you. This episode is intended to get you two back on track. Life throws a lot of curveballs at us, some things that we may have foreseen coming and some things we would have never dreamed in a million years would have ever even happened. And yet, as long as we wake up with breath in our bodies, we still got to live this life on this side, y'all. The truth is, we're all getting older, everybody, every day. And the fact is, if we keep living long enough, we all are going to get old at some point. But the beauty of it is that we really do have control over how we age. I hope that this episode will make you choose you. I hope this episode will spark a fire in you to get back out there and do what you can wherever you are. If it has to be a 10-minute walk until you can walk 20, if you have to walk before you can take off running, there's tons of ways to get started in your fitness journey. But whatever you do, just don't sit down and stop moving. We got this, you guys. We all can do it. And trust me, you'll feel good about yourself and learn something new about yourself when you do. Again, thanks for listening to These Three Things podcast. And I will see you the next time on a new episode of These Three Things.